MLS Week 3 is here, or Week 4 if you're MLS. We had a lot of great things happen in Week 2. We had a snow game in Salt Lake. Inter Miami destroy Orlando City. And my favorite player in MLS, Joseph Martinez, they're behind. Let's go. Yes. Gets on the scoreboard for Montreal. It was a great week, but here we are, Week 3. We're going to start off with NYCFC versus Portland Timbers. NYCFC have not won a match yet, where Portland Timbers are actually sitting first there in the West with a goal difference of 3, winning their first game 4-1 and then drawing 2-2 against DC United. Portland finally go on the road. They've been at home for their first 2 matches. They go on the road to NYCFC. Yes, I think Portland are a better side, but NYCFC have to look better. I don't think NYCFC win this match, but I do think it ends in a 1-1 draw there in New York. Next up, we have Toronto FC versus Charlotte FC. Currently, Toronto, they won their last match on the road against the Revs and then drew in match day 1 against Cincinnati. Things are looking up for Toronto. Charlotte also looking pretty good. Got a 1-0 victory in week 1 and then a draw there in Vancouver. They go on the road, but I think, though, Toronto fans, this is for you. I think Toronto win at home 2-1 over Charlotte FC. Now we move on to Atlanta United versus New England Revs. Both teams not looking that great. Yes, Atlanta have only played 1 match. They played in Columbus and lost 1-0 on the road in a very cold game in week 1, where the Revs, they lost at home against Toronto. I think, like I said in my predictions, I don't think the Revs are going to do as good as they have done in the last couple seasons. I think Atlanta, though, this is their first home match. They had a week off. They didn't play last weekend. I think they come in and win this match 3-1 over the Revs. Now, one of the most exciting games for this week, I think, is going to be Columbus Crew versus Chicago Fire. Columbus, they won against Atlanta in week 1. They draw on the road to Minnesota late in week 2. Chicago Fire drew in week 1 against Philadelphia Union on the road, but then they ended up losing against a good Cincinnati team at home at Soldier Field. They go on the road here to Columbus. I think it's going to be a good matchup, but I do think that Columbus get the job done there at Lower.com Field and win this match 1-0 over the Chicago Fire. Now we go back to New York. We have New York Red Bulls versus FC Dallas. The Red Bulls are coming off of a victory on the road against Houston Dynamo. I believe I did call that game that the Red Bulls were going to win, and I can't believe it. The Red Bulls are going to be better than what people think. I think the Red Bulls are going to be fighting for a top 5 position there in the East. The East is very strong. Dallas, on the other hand, I think that they're going to fight for the West. People are getting healthy. This is going to be a good matchup. I think, though, that FC Dallas come on the road, even though they lost their last match at home 2-1 against Montreal, which Montreal is another beast right now. I think that they get a point here. I think Dallas go on the road to New York and get a point with a 2-2 draw versus the Red Bulls. Next up, we have Orlando City versus Minnesota United. Orlando City, what is going on? You are expected, or were expected, to be so good this season, and here you are. You lose 5-0 to Inter Miami. Is Inter Miami that good? Orlando that bad? Or was it just an off game for them? They did win their first match. No, they did not. I apologize. That was Champions Cup. They drew their first match against Montreal 0-0. They lose to Inter Miami 5-0. They're not looking great for MLS regular season. They're not looking great in Champions Cup either. I was saying, they just tied Tigres 0-0 in their last match. Minnesota United, on the other hand, win their first match on the road against Austin FC 2-1, and then they tie Columbus Crew 1-1 at home. I think that we see something different from Orlando here. I think maybe they switch up something and come in. I know that they're playing games like back-to-back because of Champions Cup, but I think that they come back home at Explorer Stadium and win this match 2-0 over Minnesota United. That leads us to another good game I think is going to take place this weekend. That is Philadelphia Union versus Seattle Sounders. The Union have drawn both of their matches here in MLS. They also have stuff going on with the Champions Cup, so it's back to back to back. Seattle Sounders, they draw against Austin FC at home 0-0. What's up with all these 0-0 matches? Then they lost to LAFC 2-1 on the road. They're right now in 12th place in the West. Seattle are struggling. I think Philadelphia, since they are at home, I know I always say it, Subaru Park is hard to play at, and I actually think Philadelphia Union win this match 2-0 over the Seattle Sounders. Now we go down to Texas. We have Austin FC versus St. Louis City. St. Louis City have won both matchups against Austin in their clash. Austin not looking that great. They have 1 point. They have a draw against Seattle Sounders, and then they lost their first match. Where St. Louis looking pretty good. They get a 2-0 win over NYCFC at home. Yes, they did lose in the Champions Cup against Houston, but before that they drew Real Salt Lake 1-1 in Week 1 for MLS. This one I was back and forth on because Austin they haven't played as much as St. Louis in my opinion, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on there in Austin, and I think that things need to change before they can get better. I think that St. Louis go on the road here and win this match 3-1 over Austin FC. Now we have Real Salt Lake versus Colorado Rapids. Real Salt Lake 3-0 victory over LAFC in that snow match, and then in Week 1, their second match, they drew St. Louis 1-1, and then they lost to Inter Miami in the very first match of the season. Colorado not looking too hot, lose 4-1 in Week 1, draw in Week 2. I expected more from Colorado. I understand they are a young team, a lot of new faces there in Colorado. It's going to take them some time. Real Salt Lake, they looked really good in the snow game for it being the snow game in the first half. I think with them being at home, Real Salt Lake are going to win this match 2-0 over Colorado Rapids. Next up, we have LAFC versus Sporting Kansas City. LAFC coming off a loss there in Salt Lake. Y'all need to quit being babies. If you don't like the weather and complain about the snow and all this other stuff, just forfeit. That's a way to fix that issue. I hate the fact that they did that, that saying that it needs to have a dome and this game shouldn't have been played and all this other stuff. Deal with it. Just play. Yes, it's snow. It changes the whole tactic of the game and all that. But as a manager, you should be able to adapt to that, and your players should be able to adapt to that. Yes, you get to live this luxurious life there in LA with great weather all the time. Doesn't mean that you can't just play in that all the time. I think that we should still keep snow games as they happen. LAFC just need to grow up, quit being babies, just play the game. Like I said, if you don't like it and your players don't like it, forfeit the game. It's that simple. Anyway, the rant is over. They lost 3-0 against Real Salt Lake. Then they beat Seattle 2-1 at home. Sporting Kansas City, both of their matches are draws. I think this is going to be a good matchup. I think Kansas City go on the road here and get a draw. I think this match ends in a 1-1 draw there in LA. Here we are, San Jose Earthquakes versus Vancouver Whitecaps. San Jose, we got to have a talk here. Y'all got to do better. I want to be on the playoff train for you all. I want you all to do well in the West. And here, you can't even win a game. I understand FC Dallas, LA Galaxy, two of the best teams in the West, but you got to put up better performances. You just have to. Vancouver Whitecaps, on the other hand, a draw and a loss in their first two matches. This is going to be a close game. The last time that they played in San Jose won that match 2-1, but that was back in 2023 in March, so a year ago. I think that we get the same result. I think San Jose win this match 2-1 over Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, for our first match on Sunday, I think this is going to be a good matchup. That is FC Cincinnati versus DC United. FC Cincinnati are looking great. They drew their first match, won their second one on the road. DC United also looking good with a win and a draw in their first two matches. I think that we're going to see goals in this match. I think that we're going to end up seeing 5. They're playing at TQL Stadium. I have to say that Cincinnati get it done, but they get lucky at the end of the match. I think that it's a late winner, and they win 3-2 over DC United. Our second match there on Sunday is Nashville versus LA Galaxy. Another hopefully good matchup. I'm not sure if Mukhtar or Surridge is back for Nashville. They really need those guys to come back for them to start winning games. Nashville have drawn both of their first 2 matches. LA Galaxy drew their first one, won their second one. Nashville has not won this matchup yet. It's 2 wins for the Galaxy and 1 draw. And I actually believe that draw turns to 2. I don't think Nashville get it done at Geodis Park, especially if Mukhtar and Surridge are not back for Nashville. But I do think that they somehow pull out a draw, and it ends in a 2-2 draw there at Geodis Park. Last but not least, we have Inter Miami versus CF Montreal. We know what Miami did last week against Orlando City. 5-0. That's crazy. That is crazy because Orlando was supposed to be this good team. And maybe they still are, just not working out the way it should be right now. CF Montreal, I think CF Montreal are surprising people. And I think they're going to surprise us even more against Inter Miami. No, they're not going to go on the road and win. That's not going to happen. But I think with the way that Montreal are going to press, I think that it makes it very difficult for Miami to score 5. I think that Miami do end up scoring 3, but that third one is a late goal because Montreal are pushing forward to draw the game. So I think that this match ends in a 3-1 victory for Miami there at Chase Stadium. So that is it for match day 3. Please tell me down below what your scores are, what your predictions are. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you like the content. And we will see you for the 360 watch along there on Saturday.